Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Byronic, and this week on Star Guides, we have the MISC Endeavor, or more specifically, an update to my original video posted almost 1 year ago. In that video, I discussed whether or not the Endeavor would be a good ship to add to your hangar, as it was during the concept announcement. The point of this video, though, is twofold. First, I'll provide a conceptual design update using brand new images from the subscriber vault, and second, I will discuss the economic potential of the ship for those of you who want to make a buck. If you'd like to skip to the new concept images, hit that annotation. Let's do this. Before we get started, I want to quickly detail what the Endeavor is. If you would like a more in-depth look at the ship, please check out my previous video both on the screen and in the description below. So, the Endeavor is a highly customizable, top-of-the-line research platform, featuring multiple science packages, a research laboratory, and a myriad of sensor hardpoints. The ship is able to perform near-corona research, jump point identification, and other incredibly sciencey things. Don't like environmental science? Well, then you can configure the Endeavor into a Hope-class floating hospital for battlefield support. Don't like ridiculous student loans for med school? Well, you can then configure the Endeavor to produce narcotics or provide black market surgeries for buku bucks. Clearly, the MISC Endeavor is a ship of many faces. Now, none of what I just said is new information. In fact, it's really the only information we've had regarding this ship since its original concept launch. However, we finally received the first images ever of the Endeavor from both Dragon Con, as well as a subscriber vault with a few that provide quite a bit of new information. Take what I say with a grain of salt though, as most of this video is based off conceptual designs privy to change. First up, and the most obvious aspect of these images, is demonstrating how customizable the Endeavor is. In multiple instances, you can see the center structure of the ship changing to various modules. From this ring, which could be a kind of habitat seen in plenty of other science fiction, to designs which seem less obvious, such as this one, which appears to feature some forward-facing struts releasing probes from its forward center mass. Or this one, which has two pods that could potentially be related to scientific observation or even turret placement. Now, before you, and by you I mean all of the Star Citizen community, who thinks this will be a whole series all over again, speculating if this ship can become a pocket carrier, just stop. I can't, even so I won't. Now, a really interesting aspect of these images is that we confirmed this ship will be incorporating alien technology, or more specifically, the thrusters are Xi'an made, which could potentially be more effective than standard human tech. Moving on, I want to go over this image, which is probably the most exciting of everything released this past week. Starting at the front of the ship, it's immediately noticeable that the cockpit and observation deck are relatively far apart versus the majority of ship designs we've seen thus far. Directly underneath both of those locations spans the crew quarters, which, depending on the scale of this image, could be quite large. Now, here and here are two landing pads. Two things about that. First, the original official concept design stated the hospital variant could hold a single cutlass. Either the ship became much larger and now can hold two cutlasses, or the picture shown here is vastly different from the floating hospital, which could still only have one. Second, by looking at these two landing pads, we can get a general idea about how large the ship actually is. While we could try and crudely measure the size of the ship, in episode 55 of Reverse the Verse, it was stated that the Endeavor is roughly 200 meters long. In comparison, that's slightly larger than the Orion, an industrial mining platform, and slightly smaller than the Idris. Next up, we've got drones. Drones. I love drones in space games, especially when they can be used in combat rather than just sensors or mining related. Now, while the Endeavor appears to have multiple drone hardpoints in just the front section of the ship, if you look closely at the rear section labeled aft escape pods, the caps to the hardpoints are identical. In all honesty, this is probably more of a the art isn't done yet kind of problem, but if not, this is just another example of the modularity of this ship. Right here, we can see forward life pods and aft escape pods. These kind of confuse me, because life pods and escape pods are actually considered the same things in most cases. You know, it's completely reasonable though for a ship of this size to have two sets of escape pods, but we'll just have to wait and see if there's an actual difference between these two when more information becomes available. Finally, we have the center mass of the Endeavor. This entire section is devoted to the modules you yourself pick for this ship. In this picture, we can clearly see it's been outfitted for pure science, with various science pods, a science observation deck, and various hubs to watch your Bill Nye videos.
Science rules.
You can, however, customize this section for many roles as talked about earlier in this video. Before I move on though, I want to point out that everything I have discussed thus far is not based on the final version of the Endeavor. In fact, this image is actually considered the most current version, but unfortunately did not have such a nice diagram of the various parts as the original image that I was going over. However, both of these versions share many of the same components and are most certainly built off the same design philosophy. For example, you can see matching drone slots, escape pods, rear turrets, etc. Now, the main difference lies with the central module, which again is a personal choice. Look, if you want to add a Stargate in the middle of your ship, no one is stopping you, not even Chris Roberts. So far, we've talked about the new image and some of their implications. The next part of this video is dedicated towards talking about the potential credit-making methods in Star Citizen, specifically using the Endeavor. Now, I want to talk about this because I see quite often this simple question being asked. Science is cool and all, but how do I profit from it? I'm going to ignore the obvious answer of science doesn't need profits, it's a pursuit of intellectual enlightenment, because it's both naive and cheap. Scientists need to eat too. Come on now. I am, however, going to start this discussion off with the Trade and Development Division. The TDD is a central hub to accept missions, whether it's to destroy a pirate fleet or hauling cargo for a major conglomerate. I have an entire video covering in detail everything you need to know about the TDD, so if you want to know more, click that sucker. Seriously, it's important. Done watching? Okay, good. The reason why I bring up the Trade and Development Division is because I believe heavily that you can also accept exploration and science missions from their listing boards just the same as cargo hauling missions. Imagine it. One mission could be to investigate a strange electrical storm over an uninhabited planet. You need to travel to that location, perform science on the electrical storm using science stations and sensors, and finally return to the TDD to collect the sweet reward. Now, if say you only own a Hornet, right, it's quite possible you won't be able to complete that mission, assuming it requires science stations and other specialized equipment to complete. There are other methods, however, to make credits on the Endeavor. This includes what's listed as black market surgeries, as well as the production of narcotics. Now, unless there are special job listings in more seedy locations, I highly doubt that those options will be found on the TDD. As for black market surgeries, this could potentially mean illegal human augmentation and body chop shops for the organ market, or something as harmless as offering medical services far from home, but without a license. We honestly do not know. But what we do know is death of a spaceman plays a significant role in your time with Star Citizen, and I'm sure many of us will die at some point or another. In that way, this keeps hospitals and black market operations at a premium. As for narcotic production, I feel this will play quite a bit more like conventional crafting in other games, plus the added aspect of it, of course, being illegal. I'm sure this will involve the purchase of raw materials and resources, process them with the Endeavor, and then the ability to produce those drugs. Having watched Breaking Bad, I feel like an authority on drug making, so forewarning, it can lead to horrible endings. No spoilers.
You're goddamn right.
In any case, I expect this to make quite a bit of credits, but also presenting high risk to the pilot though during police searches and scans. Alright guys, that about wraps it up. You know, I'm incredibly excited for the Endeavor to be put on sale. I really am. While science and medicine are cool and neat, I'm far more interested in the trade and industry side of what appears to be a very unique income generator. For those of you that will inevitably ask, I believe that the ship will eventually retail for around $400 to $500 US. I base this solely on past ship sales and the fact that this is a top-of-the-line vessel. Well, before I finish this, what about you? Are you interested in the Endeavor? If so, what do you want to do with it? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Star Guides. My name is Byronic, and that is it. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. If you'd like to see more Star Citizen content, head over to imperialnews.network. They've got news, recaps, lore, and a lot more. See you next time.